All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. And I just got back from watching The Batman. And all I have to say is holy shit. As you can see by this big ass Cheshire grin on my face, you can definitely tell I really enjoyed it. I went to my local theater, which is an AMC theater, and holy fuck, $28 for this film. And granted, I did get a popcorn and an icy, and you can't go to the movies without having that experience. Coke Cherry Mix is by far the best. I don't want to take too much time up. I'm gonna keep this as spoiler free as possible, probably as spoiler free as I can make it, because there's a lot of things that are running through my head right now that I want to get out, but I don't want to spoil it for anybody. So let's just get right into it and start with the number one thing, the proverbial elephant in the room, the runtime. The runtime of the film is roughly 3 hours, 2 hours and 56 minutes to be exact. And it didn't feel like it was 3 hours long, but I could definitely tell it was 3 hours long. And I enjoyed every single minute of it. There's probably going to be some reviews that people say that, oh, this could have been cut out, this could have been cut out to shorten it. Man, fuck that. It was well worth every single minute that I sat in that theater. I had to pee so damn bad, but I couldn't get up because I didn't want to miss anything. Fucking ices, man, golly. But the runtime, like I said, it wasn't that bad. Set your expectations and be prepared for a long sitting experience, but it was well worth it. Everything that I saw from the beginning of the end of that film was really really good. I was thoroughly impressed as to just the scope and scale of the film. But that's like the biggest thing that people will have a problem with is just the runtime. And going into 2022, most movies are hitting about 2 hour marks, 2.5 hours. They're starting to push the envelope. But Matt Reeves had a lot of story to tell, and he told it in this time frame. And yeah, maybe there could have been a few things, but it wasn't worth cutting some things out, killing some of the portions of the story. And we got a lot of things to talk about. So that's the number one. The number two thing, by the way, I got my trusty notes right here. The performance. The performance from all the cast was absolutely astounding. Robert Pattinson, to the haters out there, fucking came in hot like Ric Flair at WrestleMania. He killed that performance. Zoe Kravitz had a great performance as Catwoman. Her backstory is a little bit different than the comics, but none of that was anything that overshadowed just the character herself and just how her performance, was throughout the film. Great film. The biggest standout performance, absolutely without a shadow of a doubt, Paul Dano. He killed it as the Riddler. Without his performance, I think the film would have not necessarily suffered, but wouldn't have been as enjoyable for a 3 hour experience. His take on the Riddler, not much else I can say besides just this is the type of film. If you took away the whole superhero just curtain, definitely Oscar worthy. Like the film, dude. Like, let's move on. I don't want to tell you. I don't want to get stuck on one thing because my thoughts are running so bad right now, all over the place. I got so much to say. I'm trying to keep things, like I said, spoiler free. But his performance is definitely the best in the film. And like I said, without it, I think the film would have been a little less enjoyable than it was. The number three thing that I feel is people need to set their expectations, right? And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that in a good way. Because this is not the typical superhero film that we have ever seen. Matt Reeves came out of the gate saying he wanted this to be a noir style film. And by God, that's what we got. We got 3 hours of just Batman being Batman. We saw his intelligence. We saw it with the solving of the riddles. We saw his gadgets. And remember, this is year two Batman. He's only been Batman for 2 years, so he doesn't have all the Bond style gadgetry that he's gonna have in the future. And I think the film was a better version for the simplicity of his skills. What we got was just the greatest detective version of Batman. And one of my other videos, you probably see it here, was how this film is probably the closest to the Detective Comics Batman. And Matt Reeves delivered. Very, very articulate with just the scenes, the tones, and just the story he was trying to tell. You could take Batman out of this and put any person in there, not your superhero, just just some spy or any of that type of character, and the film still would have been just as good because it wasn't a story just deeply about Batman, but a story of a detective who just happens to be Batman, who's solving a crime with one of the greatest psychopaths that Gotham City has ever seen. There's a lot I want to cover, but I got to keep this spoiler free. Just moving forward, like I said, the performances were great. The expectations, you have to make sure you don't go in thinking this is another Marvel style beat 'em up actions all over the place film. This is definitely a film that is heavily grounded in just simplicity and reality, more so than the Christopher Nolan Batman. And Robert Pattinson, he killed this role. Very, very good actor. There's a couple other things that I feel like he had a monkey on his back coming out of Twilight and all these other films, and he's been working hard to get that monkey off his back. Really, The Lighthouse is one of the movies that I definitely recommend. It's a A24 film, very weird, but also very good at the same time. Check that out. It's really good. There's a lot of Easter eggs that I feel like aren't really spoilers within the film, but there's one that you see in the trailer. One of the kids in the first I Am Vengeance scene that we see from the trailers, he was one of the actors on the Titan show who also was going on to become the new Robin, Tim Drake. Coincidence? I don't know. Maybe it's a little bit of foreshadowing on what's to come. I don't know. We'll see. It's going to be interesting. I don't have much else to say outside of just set your expectations. Be prepared to sit in for a long, long runtime, and enjoy the film. Get you some popcorn. Get your icy Coke Cherry Mix, and just sit back and enjoy what Matt Reeves and the rest of the cast is putting together. And I think you really are going to enjoy it. There's going to be some people who love it. There's going to be some people who don't. But I feel like the people who don't like it will be the people that are going into this film with Marvel level expectations. This is not what this film is. It's a deep-rooted noir detective film, and that's what we get. We get the simple gadgets. We get basically the simple goal of stopping the Riddler. And Paul Dano's performance, like I said again, is top-notch, and he definitely is what put this movie over the top. Probably gonna be one of the greatest portrayal villains that we've seen. Even up there with your Heath Ledger. I didn't really care for Bane, but Bane was Bane, in the Nolan films. But his performance is definitely up there with Heath Ledger. And we don't have much to compare because the Riddler, the big version of the Riddler, was portrayed by Jim Carrey. And I guess for the time and the product of Joel Schumacher's Batman, that's what we got. So this is definitely a step up from that particular version of the Riddler. That's pretty much it. I don't have much else to say, but set your expectations and just be prepared for a long run time. With that said, man, enjoy the film. My name's Lincoln. This is the RPG Show, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.